Good evening. Welcome to the Spiritual But Not Religious Show. I'm your host, George Lewis. I'm looking forward to having a really good time tonight. My guest tonight is a really bright fellow and just a super nice guy. You're gonna enjoy him. I'll tell you more about him a little bit later. Uh, Before I get into anything about my guest, let me tell you a bit about the Spiritual Broadcasting Network and about this show, the Spiritual But Not Religious Show, and why we're here and what we're doing. Really, what we are after is to support the many, many diverse voices out there who are moving toward global transformation, a complete shift from our dark nature to our light nature. Because if we don't do something, the planet's in real peril, and I think most of us are aware of that. The Spiritual But Not Religious Show was born out of the realization that the spiritual but not religious community in the last 15 or 20 years has become huge. Actually, right now, 20% of the U.S. population declares themselves as being spiritual but not religious. And the real problem for us, and I don't know if problem is the right word, but the real challenge is that because we don't go to church or, we don't belong to some big community that has a voice, we're not heard. Most people don't even know that this community is this large. And so we're working at bringing you the voices of that large community. And we have authors who are really writing books that are on the cutting edge of transformation, personal transformation, because really any kind of global transformation is going to happen on a personal level first. We're going to have enough people who actually change themselves before that can happen. Before I get into my guest, I want to do a little shameless pitch on my book, Mastering the Light. There are a lot of books out there will help you to get rich. There are a lot of books out there, that are in that positive thinking kind of vein. This book has some tools if you're in trouble. If you're having problems with your marriage, you're having financial difficulties, if you got some kind of addiction that you're having difficulty with, my book will definitely help you. It's really jam-packed with some real-world tools to help you not only survive this issue, but to come past it and actually thrive. My next week's guest is Lorraine Ash. Lorraine is a reporter in New Jersey for the Gannett Group. And that's how I came in contact with Lorraine. They wrote a huge article, very big article on the spiritual but not religious community. They interviewed a lot of people, had many videos, and I was one of the people that they interviewed. And Lorraine has written 2 books. She wrote Life Touches Life, and it's about a mother's story. She had a stillborn and the healing that came after and the spiritual path that presented. Her new book, which is just about to be released and published, is called Sudden End. And we'll be talking next week mostly about her new book, Sudden End. And I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I'll be into it this week. And but knowing Lorraine and having read her first book, I'm sure it's going to be great, be really interesting. My guest tonight is Howard Falco. Howard wrote a book called I Am. And this book, I'm going to tell you what, the more that I read of it and the more that I researched for tonight's show about Howard, the more I like this guy. And, we've tried to get him on a couple of times before tonight, and Tom's had to reschedule him. And he has proven that he lives what he's written in this book. I mean, he just was really cordial and just really, really worked with us to make sure that tonight happened and didn't have any problems with it at all. And I guarantee you that not everybody is like that. We totally appreciate it. This book, I Am, is jam-packed. It's the power of discovering who you are. I am so much in alignment with what he says in this book. I'll tell you what, there's on the page there, you'll see a link to buy the book. I totally recommend that you do that. And also, by the way, up in the upper left-hand corner on the live show, you'll see our Facebook like button. How about giving us a click on the like button? That helps us to continue doing what we're doing and bring it to you for free. Tom, we have Howard on the line.
He's on the line, George.
Good evening, Howard.
Hi, George. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Hey, you're coming through good. That audio is great.
Wonderful. Perfect.
Yeah, good. I've been looking forward to talking with you tonight. I don't know if you were listening to the introduction at all, but it's real obvious to me that you're a really good guy and that you live this stuff, and I totally appreciate that. Opinions don't really carry us too far as real change is concerned.
Well, it's very nice of you. I appreciate that, and I appreciate what you do every week.
Hey, listen, before we get started in the book, I think that one of the things that people want to know is about who you are, and I think it tends to make people more inclined to want to read your book if they know who you are and that you actually work this kind of stuff. So if you don't mind, I'll ask you some kind of basic personal questions about where you came from and how we got here and all that kind of thing.
Sure, absolutely.
So where were you raised?
I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, I should say, in the northwest suburbs, and I went to high school there.
Right.
And then ended up moving to Arizona because I wanted to go to college where it was warm, and so I chose Arizona State and went to college and graduated there, and then stayed out here and got married and had a family, and here I am.
What was your college background? What was your major there?
Major in college was business.
Business.
I was majoring in business.
Well, you must have done a lot of writing, Howard, because your book is truly well written. You've done a really nice job with it. It's a good, powerful, easy read. I totally enjoyed it. So, what was your family life? What was your spiritual life? I mean, did they have some kind of a religion or something that your family was involved with?
Well, I grew up under Judaism, but a very light version of it.
Uh-huh.
I went to Hebrew school and got bar mitzvah, and I remember thinking at my bar mitzvah when I was up there reading from the Torah that I can't believe that I just spent 3 or 4 years learning how to read, write, and speak this language, and yet I have no idea what the spiritual meaning is.
Right.
What I'm reading, and it was more a process that you're supposed to go through. At least that's how it was in our family. It wasn't a very religious-based situation, and so it spawned a lot of questions. And I was never really connected to my religion or any particular religion in general, and I always kept my mind open to learning more.
Sure.
About the nature of life itself.
So if you don't mind, would you share with us, like what kind of belief you have at this point in your life with a higher power or with God or whatever you call that source?
Well, the beliefs I have at this point, that's a really good question. No one's actually asked me that. My religion is love, unconditional love. So what feels good from here, from the heart, is what guides my life. And that's how I try to walk my day, every single day of my life. I believe in the nature of absolute perfection in the world, in any given moment. Now, just to further explain this idea of perfection, it doesn't mean that is what we are looking to see continue, but it is a perfection for what's happening right now.
Right.
And that there's a reason and a perfect purpose for it.
We may not know what it is, but it's there nonetheless.
Right. It is there for a specific reason for the observer.
That idea, that belief in higher power, how we do our life, is so huge as to how we live our life. And this that you believe in love shows up everywhere in what you're doing. I also listened to some interviews that you did, and it's real obvious that it's there. I guess I read a blog post that you did here recently. It was about the thing that happened with our was a Congress lady, I think, there in Arizona, And you talk about random violence and the reason for random violence. And I think that really, like that fits in with, your belief system and what you've written in the book. And give us a little bit about that event and how you see the event and about randomness.
Well, again, everything happens for a specific reason for the observer. So I can only speak from my perspective.
Right.
On what I'm seeing from that event.
Right.
There's two choices I can make when I experience that event. I can get drawn into the drama of it and allow the negativity of what was created by that individual to affect me and to draw me down into a negative emotional state. But that affects the light that I shine through me in every moment, and it's going to affect who I'm standing next to or who I see on the street corner in the next 20 minutes if I allow myself to get dragged down into that drama.
Absolutely.
So what I see from it is that it gives me a sense of gratefulness for my current situation in life, and it further commits me to spreading more light and love in the world so that individuals like who caused that event don't emerge out of this potential of life.
Right.
There's a reason he did what he did, and it started a long time ago in his psyche. And, that may be the next person I meet walking down the street. And if I am in the presence of mind to offer a nice, warm smile, it may have that effect that changes their day and ultimately, as a domino effect, changes their life in some way. I really, truly believe that.
We teach best by example, huh?
Yeah, and I think how you react to a certain situation will determine what you create in your very next moment. So while I have great empathy for what occurred and what happened to everybody, it only strengthens my resolve to spread positive, warm energy into the world.
Well, when you look at the wholeness of that event and a lot of the rhetoric that's been going on, in the political world, it's pretty obvious that what you say is really true because there are a lot of people who are caught up in the venom and there's been a lot of vitriol going on as politically that I'm sure had a part in all of that. And so that really backs up exactly, what you're saying at this point. There's a saying, I guess, nothing in this world happens by accident.
Right.
Yeah, I'm convinced that you're right. So listen, tell me, why do you think someone should buy your book? What do you think? What's the number one reason that they should pick this up? How's it going to really affect their lives?
If they're looking to empower themselves to understand the nature of who they are, which in turn will allow them to understand the nature of life itself and why it is, which in turn will allow them to take what has predominantly been a subconscious process that they've been going through in all their thoughts and actions that have created their life and make it more of a conscious process so that they can direct their energy in a way that creates what they desire, then they should look at this material.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Howard. I think you're right on with that, and that's exactly the benefit that I see that they'll get. So listen, there are a lot of teachers out there, and like that teach similar kind of messages. They teach it in various ways. What makes your message different from, say, Tony Robbins?
Well, again, I can't speak for where he's coming from on his teachings, only from how I interpret it. But
right.
I would say that Tony Robbins is more on the motivational side.
Yes.
Where this is coming from a little bit of a deeper level. He's a pioneer in how you change your emotions and how you can see more possibility for yourself and how to go out there and what you can accomplish and what you can do. My material goes to the very core essence of where those thoughts and emotions get generated from. Because we all know a lot of people who've gone to motivational seminars before, but a week, 2 weeks, a month afterwards, it wears off.
If that long.
Right, and the reason that it does that is because for any true change to occur in life, you have to change your beliefs about who you are at the very core. It can't be because someone imparted their energy on you and said, this is what you can do. Look at this. You just walked through this fire, or you just accomplished this incredible feat. Now you can go do it. If they still haven't changed the core identity that's driving their life, it will not matter. They have to have their own personal will to do that. And what drives that personal will is the understanding of who they are and the knowledge of their infinite capacity. Not someone else's belief in them, but their own belief in them through their own understanding of themselves.
Well, that's sure been my personal experience and my experience with a lot of the people that I mentor. I couldn't agree more with you. So tell me, is your audience, is it more, do you find you have a larger segment of female versus male as far as your audience is concerned?
The feedback that I'm getting is it's generally maybe 60-40 female to male is what it is.
That's pretty strong if you're getting 40%. I think there's some difference too in the message that some of these motivators do that is more aggressive and more male oriented. I know Tony Robbins stuff is really really hits on that. Although there are a lot of females who follow, but I think his audience would be the flip flop of where you're at and the kind of audience that I draw.
Yeah, it could be, and again, I mean, you're talking about one of the pioneers in human behavior and thought. So
the guy's done a heck of a job.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's coming from a different angle, a slightly different angle. That's all.
Right.
And what I'm also finding is that because the nature of this stuff goes to a very a deeper level, what's interesting though is that it's written in a very mainstream way because I'm a mainstream guy.
Right.
In other words, I didn't go on a pilgrimage to India. I didn't sit with any gurus. I didn't study any religious texts. I didn't. I wasn't a scientist or a theoretical physicist or a psychologist.